nguur gi dal di bàyyi nag àtte bi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko continuer di ko àtte.
And did your protest letter to the High Court, did it yield any results?
Letter ñaxtu boobu nga xam ne yónnee woon ngeen ko ci High Court bi ndax amoon na dara lu ci faaxee ko.
Well, not really.
Did it?
Not really, because I think eventually the charges were dropped with the intervention of Counsel Ida Drame, who appealed directly to the president, I'm informed.
mbir mi daal mujjee gi dal di woon nañu fomm nag atte boobu nag li ko waral mooy ndimbali Aida Dramé lawyer la moom mi nga xam ne nii dafa wax nag président bi directly ci comme ni ñu ma ko yëgale.
That's the negotiation that you were referring to earlier in your testimony.
Loolu mooy fànn gi nga xam ne dañ ko def waxtaan ba juboo la nga xam ne waxoon nga ko sànq bi nga joxe say seede.
Well, not necessarily. I think somehow Counsel Ida Drame was perceived as more independent than the rest of us.
Lawyer Ida Drame ni ñu ko gisee woon rek moo nekk ne daal moo gënoon a dox ak sago ni ñun ñi ci des. And I guess I mean as a legal practitioner, she took it upon herself to help in ensuring the release of Moses Richards. ci kaw loolu nag niki lawyer la ci la daldi yoon def nag li mun pour génn gis ne daal danañu bàyyi Moses Richards.
And she was able to do it, and for us, we were happy that it was done.
te fexewoon na ba def ko nag te ñun itamit kontaanoon nañ ne am na.
And also, this letter, the first letter is dated 10th January 2011.
Letter bu njëkk bi ñu ko bindoon fukki fanweeri January 2011.
It was actually preceded by another letter which is dated on the 7th of January 2011.
am na beneen letter bu ko jiitu juróom-ñaari fanweeri January 2011.
And this letter is addressed to the Master of the High Court.
Letter bi nag ñu ko yónnee Master bu High Court.
In protest of the prosecution of Moses Richards.
Di wone ñaxtu boo xam ne nag ñu ko dem lu aju ci àtte bi ñu def Moses Richards.
I have another letter that you referred to earlier as well.
am naa fi beneen letter boo xam ne wax nga ko fi ci gannaaw.
And that is dated the 10th of January.
Ki fanweeri January lañ ko bindoon.
And it is addressed to the president of the Gambia Bar Association.
ñu ko yónnee ki nga xam ne moo jiite mbootaay lawyer yi ci biir réewi Gambia.
This was actually a letter written by the Minister of Justice.
Li letter la boo xam ne ministre bi xam ne moo saytu wàlli àtte gi ci réew moo ko bindoon.
I have not seen a letter that was sent to him. Is there any such letter that was sent to him prior to the president of the bar receiving this response from the Minister of Justice?
Gisuma nag letter boo xam ne yónnee ngeen ko Minister of Justice gannaaw boo xamee ne nag moo tontu bi laa gis nii gisuma letter boo leen ko yónnee yéen lawyer yi.
Can I have a look at that letter if you don't mind?
mu ngi ko laaj ndax mun naa gis letter boobu noonu.
There is one dated the 10th of January. Okay, there's this other one written by the president of the bar, sorry. It is dated the 13th of January 2011. Where the points in that other letter were emphasized.
Well, I believe there was a letter dated the 4th of January 2011.
letter January 2011.
Referenced by the then Aegis letter. The fourth line reads, your letter of 4th January with reference XXX.
It's a letter January.
The attention of the government. So I presume that we had sent a letter on the 4th of January.
letter January.
And he He responded to the letter on the 10th of January.
mu daldi tontuna letter bu fukki fan ci wéri January.
I have to dig up the files to find that letter, which I can give to you as well.
Kon na dina seet nag file yi nga gis ma mun la jox letter boobu.
Well, I believe our follow-up letter reiterates some of those concerns.
Indeed, the response letter to the Chief Justice.
Letter being turned to Chief Justice.
Actually.
It was Attorney General.
Sorry, that was the Attorney General.
Council, can you help us a little bit on the 3 letters, who the sender is on each one, and the addressee?
Indeed, Mr. Chairman,
only 2 or 3 letters were.
We have one missing letter that is not before me. I think probably in their files.
Yeah.
And that's the letter that the bar wrote to the Attorney General.
Okay.
With respect to the prosecution of Moses Richards. And subsequent to that letter, the Honorable Attorney General responded to...
But that's the one that is le 13 janvier? Or
Mr. Chairman, you're confusing me right now with the French.
Yeah, no, sorry. The 13th of January letter is the one from the AG.
Yes, the 13th of January is the one from the AG.
And the 10th?
And the 10th also is from the Attorney General.
Sorry, the 13th is the one from the bar.
The 13th, sorry, no, the 10th is actually...
The AG.
Confusion.
So that's why I wanted you to clear it. I'm a bit confused.
Yes, the 13th is from the Honorable AG to the President of the Bar. The 10th is from the President of the Bar.
To the?
No, from the AG to the President of the Bar. The 10th is from the AG to the President of the Bar. The 13th is from the President of the Bar to the AG.
Yes. Okay. Correct. Thank you.
And then we have another letter that they wrote to the Master of the High Court. And another, actually 2 letters to the Master of the High Court, dated the 7th and the 10th.
So Master of the High Court, Master of the Rolls?
Well, equivalent, yes. The master of the High Court. Master is basically responsible for the administration of the...
It's not Master of the Rolls,
no,
equivalent of that in England and
That
Wales.
is the Royal Court of Justice.
Okay.
Looking at the content of the letter dated the 10th of January 2011.
We said a link bin the letter bin bin fukki January 2011.
The letter was actually written to the Honorable Chief Justice.
Letter bin Honorable Chief Justice lenko binda.
And the Chief Justice brought it to the attention of the government, that is the Attorney General, the representative of the government.
Chief Justice nak egge ko Attorney General nga xamne mo tew ci turi nguur gi.
Already told us the climates under which these letters were written.
Wax nga ñu ba pare anam yi nga xamne nonu lañ bindé letter bi.
And also informed us about the response of the Attorney General.
Xamal nga ñu tamit tontu yi nga xamne mom la ci Attorney General tontu.
How did you feel when the Attorney General gave such a sharp response to the bar?
Lo yek nak Attorney General bim tonto façon tontu bi yone ko lawyer yi.
I would like to draw your attention to the last paragraph of this letter.
Dana la yobbu tuti rek ci foy xat mu muju ci lettre bi.
That is the letter dated 10th January 2011.
Moy lettre bi ñu bind fukki fan ci wéri January 2011.
Addressed to the President of the Gambia Bar Association.
ñu àggale ko président yi mbootaay lawyer yi.
who at the time was Sheriff Mari Tambedou.
Jamono jooju nag Sheriff Mari Tambedou la woon.
I would, with permission of the chair, I would like to read the last paragraph of this letter.
Ci ndigali ci amaan dama bëgg a jàng nag letter bi li mujjee ci moom.
It reads,
li ñu wax mooy.
government
nguur gi.
hereby reiterates
di beesalaat wala digëraatal.
that whoever interferes with
képp koo xam ne nii dugal na loxoom ak.
or disrupts
wala xejamal.
the functioning of any public institution or office
lu jëm ci liggéey benn buntu liggéeykaay.
shall be dealt with according to law.
danañ jëflante yow comme ni nga xam ne noonu la ko loi tëddale.
We believe that was threatening language.
Gëm nañ ne loolu de ay waxi tikku la.
Because in essence,
ndek mbir mi mooy.
Moses Richard did not break any law.
Moses Richard xëttut benn sarta.
But was detained unlawfully.
waaye nag téye nañ ko ci anam goo xam ne dëppoowut ak yoon.
All we did was bring this to the attention of the Attorney General at the time.
liñ def rek mooy dal di wane nag kii di Attorney General bi jamono boobu.
And raise our reservations.
dal di ekkati nag suñu kàddu ak gis-gis.
Of the judiciary in taking something that is really internal to the executive.
ci li nga xam ne nii noonu lañ doxalee nag ci mbiri àtte bi mu dëppoo lii nguur gi.
Only to receive a lecture.
pour rek ñu jot ay njàngal.
Telling us that we basically cannot complain about the issue.
lu woñ rek ne mënuñoo tawat lu mel noonu.
And that in fact, if we complain,
te tamit mooy suñ ko tawatee.
I mean, we can be perceived as interfering with the law.
mën nañoo gisee ne daal ñun ñu ngi dugal suñ loxo ci wàlli loi bi.
Essentially, it was turned around.
mujjee daal dafa mel ni dañ ko wëlbati.
And I mean, these are the kind of things that happen. I mean, you see, the facts are very clear, very clear. I mean, this lawyer did not break the law.
lii na moo daan ne lawyer yi am xatuñ benn loi.
Yet, and we complained about it.
te tawat nañ ko itamit nag.
And the leader of the bar, who's a lawyer,
te kii jiite nag baa bi te nga xam ne ni lawyer la.
turns it around.
gisee ko.
And makes it seem like we're undermining the government.
gisee ko nag ne daal ñun dañ nekk di suufu nguur gi.
Let me read you another paragraph, paragraph 6.
ma jàngalaat la beneen bunta.
The government
ne nguur gi.
has a constitutional responsibility.
am nañ nag warugal ci loi.
Protect all public institutions.
pour aar nag buntu liggéeykaay nguur gi yëpp.
And offices.
ci office yi.
And ensure that they are not undermined and destabilized.
te gis ne daal suufu wuñ leen te xejabaluñ leen.
By any person.
ci kenn.
or group of persons.
wala ay nit ñoo xam ne nii.
Any reason.
ci benn dalil.
I mean, the undertone. I mean, the victim here is a lawyer and the bar.
kii loru si li nag lawyer la te tamit mu ngi si baa bi.
And have an age talking about undermining.
bu ko fee nag kii age bi di wax fi suuf wala xejamal.
I mean, these are threatening language.
lii nag ay kàddu yu tekku la.
And we took cue from that.
ñu dal di jëlee ko foofu.
I'll take you to paragraph 3 of the said letter.
dinaa la yóbbu paragraph 3 ci letter bii nii.
Can you kindly read that bit?
jàngal ñu foofu.
It is not correct.
du jaarut yoon.
Any person or group of persons.
pour kenn nit wala ay nit.
who think that they have power of disciplinary control over the Chief Justice.
ne am nañ doole lu aju ci wàlli saytu kii di Chief Justice bi.
or any public officer.
wala képp koo xam ne ni kilifa la ci buntu liggéeykaay nguur gi.
This.
ne lii.
apart from being unconstitutional.
loo xam ne daal dëppoowut ak yoon.
certainly will trivialize.
day dina beesalaat nag.
compromise.
dina yàq it.
and weaken the headship of an arm of government.
nga xam ne ni dana jëm si benn bànqaasi nguur.
and invariably the whole institution.
ak itamit bu jee ci buntu liggéeykaay bi yëpp.
government will not allow that.
nguur gi duñ leen ko maslaal.
Here is the government accusing you, the bar, of trying to use unconstitutional means, they call it here. Said it's unconstitutional.
nguur gaa ngi nii nag di leen tuumaal yéen lawyer yi ne li ngeen def ni àndul ak loi comme niñ ko waxee neenu.
And it says that it compromises and weakens the headship of an arm of government.
wax nañ ne loolu dafa nasaxal banxaas boo xam ne mu ngi ci nguur gi.
And for this case in reverse, it is actually the government that is using the judiciary
ci kaw loolu nag uute ak loolu nguur gi sax ñoom ci seen boppa ñoo di jëfee bunti àtte bi
to persecute a lawyer.
pour ñu daan ki nga xam ne moo di lawyer yóbbu ko court.
How did the members of the bar feel how did they feel at that point when they read this letter?
jamono jooju nag ñi nga xam ne ñooy mbootaay lawyer yi lu ñu yëg biñ jàngee lettre bu mel nii.
They were threatened,
muy mel ni dañ leen xuppa,
accused of doing something that is unlawful,
tuumaal leen ne dañ def loo xam ne àndut ak loi.
and basically they were painted as enemies of the state.
maanaam daal dañ wane ne ñooñu ay nooni réew mi leen.
I mean, we were very disappointed, of course,
am nañ mbetteel lool
and appalled
naqar
that such a letter would come from an Attorney General,
ne leetar bu mel noonu dana jóge ko ci attorney general bi
who is nominally the leader of the bar,
ki nga xam ne daal ci aadam moom mooy njiiti baa bi
ought to know better.
te war naa gën a xam
Because, I mean, this is typical oppressive behavior.
ndax nag nekk na mbir moo xam ne nag mbiri noteel bu mag la
You turn it around.
tourné
Everything that he accused us of doing is exactly what they did.
ñoom liñ def loolu lañ mujjee tourné tuumaal ñu ko ñun
The bar never sought to exercise any disciplinary powers over the Chief Justice.
baa bi nag nekkutoon di xeeñtu dara loo xam ne mu ngi jëm ci wàlli nu ñoo saytoo Chief Justice bi
We know that power is vested, on the JSC, under the Constitution. We are very much aware of that.
xam nañ ne ci luwaay réew mi daal dinañu rànga doole ci kaw Chief Justice bi
To merely express our dismay and disappointment
dafa indi rek suñ mbetteel
over the behavior of the Chief Justice
lu jëm ci wàlli jëf ji nga xam ne noonu la Chief Justice bi jëfee
and ask for his resignation.
ñu di laajte tamit nag pour mu mun a jébbale place am
We didn't try to force his resignation.
forcé wuñu tamit pour ne mu wàcc place am
We asked him as a man of conscience
dañ ko wax rek ni nit koo xam ne ku ànd ak xelam la
to resign.
pour nag mu jébbale place am
Because as far as we are concerned,
ndeg nag li nga xam ne ni soxal nañu
he lost the legitimacy
ñàkk na nag li nga xam ne ni mooy ngoram
expected of the holder of that seat and office.
daal di woon nañu séntu nag mu feesal place boobu nga xam ne ni mooy toogumba
Obviously, these type of people
kon nag façon nit ñi
don't have the capacity to understand that language.
am nañu kàttan nag pour mën a xam nag kàddu yooyu
I mean, secondly, there was nothing unconstitutional about asking for the resignation of any public officer.
te itamit amul leneen loo xam ne nii dëppwut ak yoon pour nag di sàkku ci wàlli wàcc place ak kenn koo xam ne mu ngi liggéey ci nguur gi
We didn't try to use force.
forcé wuñ ko
We didn't threaten force.
te itamit nag xuppee wuñ doole
May I ask for resignation? This is normal in a democracy.
ñun nag pour mu wàcc bàyyi place am rek lañ doon laajte ne loolu nan jaadu na na ci démocratie
And as you can see, their response is typical.
te gis nga seen tontu nag ni mel
And they made it very clear that, I mean, they will not allow that. I don't know what that means here, but anyway.
dañ ko leeral ne daal ñoom miin loolu lan la miin loolu miin nag
I'm not so sure whether they read our letter or they were just imagining things that we didn't say.
leerul ma ne daal jàng nañ suñ lettre ndax xëy na tamit ñu ngi wax rek li nga xam ne nii ñu ngi li ñoom liñ tollale rek
And the bar responded to the letter of the Attorney General on the 13th of January 2011.
lawyer yi nag tontu nañ lettre Attorney General boobu fukki fan ak ñetta weeri January 2011.
And the bar emphasized their stance in this case, in the case of Moses Richards.
te lawyer yi nag ñu ngi gën a dëgëral seen taxawaay ci mbiri Moses Richards.
And it also pushed for the Chief Justice
te ba
to
ñu ngi pousse pour ki nga xam ne moo di Chief Justice pour
to resign as well.
jébale mahamam.
How did the Attorney General react to this letter of response from the bar?
Attorney General nag moom naka la jëlee letter ba nga xam ne lawyer yi ñoo ko tontu.
I do not recall us having any further exchange on this issue.
Fàttale ku ma fen foo xam ne nii am nañ ci ay daggat ne gannaaw li ci mbir mi.
If my memory serves me right, I believe the Chief Justice resigned according to his version.
Ci ma fàttale ko daa xëy ne Chief Justice bi bàyyi jébbale na place am.
And the other version was that he was dismissed. I think the IBA report actually did speak to that.
Leneen li ma xam daal mooy ne daal mujjee gi temen dàq nañ ko.
Who was the Chief Justice during this period?
Kan mooy woon Chief Justice jamono boobu?
I think it was Brobby.
Yaakaar naa Brobby la.
It might be Brobby, is it? I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure the Chief Justice.
Already in 2006, there was a heightened pressure from the bar for the resignation of the Chief Justice with respect to the cases involving Justice Paul, as you had earlier stated.
Ba léegi tamit lawyer yi ñu ngi doon pousse mbiri Chief Justice comme ni nga ko feeñalee noonu.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I would just like to put in the following exhibits before I proceed with the witness's testimony. That is the letter from the Gambia Bar Association to the Master of the High Court, dated 7th January 2011 as Exhibit 217G. The second letter to the Master of the High Court, dated 10th January 2011 as Exhibit 217.
Witness and counsel is at the end of the list. Should I now confirm that
my apologies, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were.
Yes, my apologies.
Okay,
that's all for me.
So these ones are also granted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Counsel, if we may, witness, if we may proceed.
I believe. I mean, he was granted bail, so he was no longer at mile 2. But the charges were dropped, I believe.
Dañ ko joxoon bail.
Following the intervention of Ms. Ida Drame.
Nekkatut mile 2 waaye mujjee gi daal tuuma yëpp dal dinañ ko faxas ci ko gannaaw boo xamee ni lawyer Ida Drame dugal na ci làmmiñam.
We'll move on to the incident involving Mrs. Ami Bensouda, if you can tell us about that.
Léegi nag ñu jàll ci mbiri Ami Bensouda boo ñu ci mënee wax dara.
Yes, Mrs. Bensouda, this most recent issue was in 2011.
mbiri Moses Charles 2011 la woon.
And Mrs. Bensouda's issue was around December 2012.
mbiri Mrs. Bensouda nag ci weeri December la 2012.
Mrs. Bensouda was engaged or contracted as a World Bank consultant to do a study on the land governance framework for the government of the Gambia as the beneficiary.
mu ngi doon liggéey nag ci diggante mbiri World Bank ak nguuri Gambia lu aju ci wàllu ñu saytu mbiri suuf si.
So as part of the assignment,
bokk na nag ci liggéey yooyu.
Our office, AAB and Co.
liggéey buntu liggéey kaayam na AAB and Co.
Went to the registry.
ñu dem nag ci registry bi.
Asking for data or information about land matters, how long it takes, and that sort of information.
laajte itamit ay bataaxel lu aju ci mbiri suuf si la naka la dee mujjee ak yeneen yu di mel.
And number of cases, how long it takes to finish, and the backlog.
ak itamit kii si niñ tegalante ak naka la dee jël ba mu jeex.
Because that consultant was supposed to look at the entire land governance
di mbir moo xam ne nii dëppoo na ak mbiri saytu suuf yëpp.
system and provide solutions.
ci ni nga xamee daal noonu lañ koy jaareele saafara ko.
So, when the request was made informally,
bi nga xamee nag sàkkuteef googu tëral nañ ko.
the there was a request that it should be made in writing.
ci liñ sàkkuteef ginnaaw dañ ñoo xam ne dañ ko war a def comme ci am mbind.
So the office of Ms. Bensouda innocently wrote a letter to the judiciary.
office yi Ami Bensouda jaar ci yoon loolu dal di bind nag ci judiciary bi.
Asking for that information.
pour laajte na bataaxel yooyu.
At the time, the acting Chief Justice was Justice Wowo.
jamono boobu nag ki nga xam ne nii moo doon yaxantu ci Chief Justice la mooy Justice Wowo.
Also from Nigeria.
jóge ko réewi Nigeria.
Only from Justice Wowo to use the request to file a complaint against Mrs. Bensouda.
ci jamono boobu nag bi mu gisee sàkkuteef googu rek ci la dal di bind ab tawat ci kaw Mrs. Bensouda.
With the National Intelligence Agency, NIA.
ak NIA.
And she was accused of engaging in activities that undermined administration of justice.
tey ñu tuumaal ko ne daal mu ngi doon dugal loxoom ci loo xam ne nii dana suufu doxalini loi ak àtte.
And Mrs. Bensouda was detained.
Mrs. Bensouda ñu jàppoon ko.
For 3 days.
te ko benn place ba ñetti fan.
At the police headquarters.
ci police headquarters bi.
I recall a number of lawyers.
maa ngi fàttaliku ay lawyer yoo xam ne nii.
Seniors, juniors.
ay mag ay ndaw.
Including my humble self.
ak man ci suma bopp sax.
Visited Mrs. Bensouda.
ñu dal di woon nañu def angan ca Mrs. Bensouda.
She was kept in the conference room of the police headquarters.
ñu ko téye woon ci conference room yi police headquarters bi.
And at the time, I think the current Minister of Interior was the IGP of Police.
te jamono boobu ki nga xam ne nii mooy Interior Minister bi jamono ji nekk nii jamono boobu moo nekkoon Inspector General bu police.
And I must say he gave us access to Mrs. Bensouda.
yu bari ñu ngi doon dem ak a ñëw.
But what was very clear was that they were waiting for instructions as to how to proceed with her.
waaye li leer na mooy ñu ngi doon xaar ndigal pour naka la ñuy continuer affaire am.
She was in charge, to my knowledge.
tuuma wuñoon ko daal mujjee gi.
But the first 2 days, she was held incommunicado.
waaye ñaari fan yu njëkk yi nag dañ ko téye woon jokkoowut ak kenn.
And I have a report here from Amnesty International.
maa ngi am report bu jógee ko ci Amnesty International.
Dated 21st December.
ñu bind ko ñaar fukki fan ak benn ci weeri December.
That actually captured and reported what happened.
loo xam ne wane na li nga xam ne ni moo xew.
And I would happily share it with council.
ci kaw loolu nag danaa ko joxe council.
Thank you very much. And it's in the report states the report is dated 21st December 2012.
Le report bi nag ñu ngi ko bind ñaar fukki fan ak benn ci weeru December 2012.
And in paragraph 6 of the report,
ci juróom benneeli paragraphe yi report bi.
the incident involving Ami Bensouda was reported.
ci xew-xew boo xam ne ni na bool na ci di Ami Bensouda dal dinañ ko ci bind.
Here it stated that it occurred, it happened on the 3rd December.
mu ngi am ñetti fan ci weeru December.
And you did mention earlier in your statement that it was in 2012.
te dal di nga ko boole ci sa statement bi ne ci 2012 la woon.
And according to the report,
ci comme ni nga xam ne noonu lañ ko bindee ci report bi.
she was not informed of the reason for her arrest throughout her detention.
yëgaluñ ko it li tax moo ñu jàpp ko ci jamono biñ ko téye yépp.
And the report, she was arrested following a complaint by the acting CJ, as you rightly mentioned.
ñu ngi ko jàppoon toftal nag benn tawat boo xam ne mu ngi tukkee woon ci Chief Justice bi jamono boobu.
So even to request for information from the judiciary with respect to data was also seen as a serious issue.
Indeed. I mean, it's ironic because this information is helpful to the judiciary, helpful to the country. The whole idea is to help reform our land governance framework. And as you know, most of the cases in the courts are land matters. So this is one of the deliverables of this project.
lu aju ci projet boobu mu ngi jëm ci wàlli code yi li nga xam ne lu ci ëpp rek mooy nekk mbiri suuf.
But obviously, the acting CJ had a sinister plan and just used this as an opportunity.
acting CJ bi nag jamono boobu amoon na pexe moo xam ne moom la laloon rek mu dal di gaaw sukkandeku ci mbir moomu.
Because nobody, yeah, Jammeh didn't ask her arrest Ami Bensouda.
Yaya Jammeh nag laaju ko mu jàpp Ami Bensouda.
He wanted to please Yaya Jammeh.
moom moo bëggoon a seddal xol Yaya Jammeh rek.
So he saw an opportunity he thought would please Yaya Jammeh.
daal di foogoon rek ne bunte yooyu na su la nga amoon rek dana bégal Yaya Jammeh.
Basically, because Ms. Bensouda came to her office, requested for information. They wrote. This acting CJ, acting Chief Justice, writes a letter of complaint claiming that this would undermine the country and is prejudicial to the country, to the NIA, which is under the office of the president.
mbir moo xam ne ni daf ko bindal pour sàkku ak sàkkuteef la ñu bind ko moom mi mujjee gi mu dolli tegaat beneen bind rek ne loolu dana suufu liggéey seen buntu liggéeykaay.
So this was a system that was created that also allowed a lot of enablers to act in a way they believe would please the Mansa.
doxalin la boo xam ne ni nag moom lañ fi ekkati woon rek ba tax ñu bari kenn kuy liggéey rek yaa ngi yaakaar ne daal mun ngaa def dara rek pour seddal xoli Mansa bi.
And given that the ex-president himself, I mean, how he saw the bar, any opportunity.
te pour wan nag président buntu boo xam ne noonu nga xam ne noonu la gisee baa bi.
Further muzzle the bar.
ci anam goo xam ne ni dana mun a not baa bi.
Further weaken the bar.
te tamit ñàkkal loo leen doole na saxal loo leen lool.
And further intimidate the lawyers.
ak tamit tiital nag lawyer yi tamit.
He would take it.
dana ko jël.
So here we are, Ms. Bensouda, a reputable, fine, legal, luminary, doing great work for the World Bank. The benefit of the country is detained.
Lawyer boo xam ne ni lawyer bu ràññeeku la di Mrs. Bensouda doon liggéeyal World Bank pour njëriñi réew mi.
On ridiculous and concocted information.
ñu jàpp ko ci bataaxel boo xam ne dañ ko defara rek.
By acting Chief Justice.
di koo xam ne ni nag acting Chief Justice la.
In complicit with the NIA.
ci loo xam ne ni jàppalante na ak NIA.
And the police.
ak police.
And thanks to the intervention of eminent international persons.
sant Yàlla nag si ndimbali ñi nga xam ne ni ñu ngi ci bitim réew.
The World Bank.
World Bank bi.
And other in meaning intention Gambians.
ak ñeneen ñoo xam ne ni ay Gambians yoo xam ne amoon nañ éena pour def si dara.
He was released.
dal lewoon nañ ko mujjee bàyyi.
But otherwise, they would have tried to charge her.
waaye nag su du doon loolu danañ ko doon di teg ay tuuma.
And funny enough, apparently the police, I'm informed by Ms. Bensouda that the police actually recommended for her prosecution.
ci li ci gën a reelu sax day police sax yëgal nañ ko itamit ne ñu ngi doon
was prepared and sent
pour jéem koo àtte.
the executive that she should be prosecuted.
So the system, a system was created wherein people reported each other in order to gain favors from the president.
Yes.
Dafa melni mbiri niñ ko defé won rek ku nekkay bolé sa morom ngir rek president bi ragné la.
And the judiciary was no exception to this system.
It was part and parcel of the equation.
The judiciary was feeding from the hand of President Jammeh.
The judiciary was controlled by President Jammeh through different attorney generals, different chief justices.
Judiciary bi nag président Jammeh daf leen doon teg loxo bu baax jaarale ko ci ay chief justice yu uute ak ay attorney general yoo xam ne duñ benn.
Was this control that you're referring to? Was it obtained by force? Or was it that it was willingly given by those that occupied those positions?
It is certainly not by force.
First,
let me clarify. I mean, it was not every member of the judiciary who towed the line. There have been, we have Nigerian judges who served with distinction. Who were independent. And these were mainly Commonwealth judges. And all the judges who came on technical assistance, the likes of Belgore, the likes of Yahya. Isoko. And of course, Monaghan from Botswana. And they consistently have shown independence in their rulings. But the advent of Justice Emmanuel Ajim was a game changer. Emmanuel Ajim came to the country, I believe, as a DPP. Probably know better than I do because you worked in the state. And on technical assistance. I mean, he was a very clever and shrewd man. So whilst as DPP, he forged a very strong relationship with the security, personnel, police, NIA. He was very close to them.
Can you help us with the time frame when he became, came in as DPP?
Sorry, I think you might be in a better position to do that.
I was not there at that time. I wasn't called yet.
I cannot remember in terms of timelines. I'm sorry, I'm not very good with this kind of details. You have to excuse me for that. So I can't remember what time it was exactly. Frankly, I cannot. It's difficult for me to give you the exact timeline.
Council is just assisting me here. She said maybe around 2002 and thereabout.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, and because Justice Wowo came during Wowo's time. I think Ajim left around 2012, if I'm correct. Because in 2012, Wowo was acting as CJ.
2012,
and at the time, Ajim was the substantive holder of the office, if I'm correct.
Time boobu Ajib nag moo téye nag place boobu.
So, Ajim, I mean, I don't want to sort of make a mistake, but I think the records can speak to this. But the genesis, I just want to give you a genesis from my own analysis of it. Ajim came from being a prosecutor, a state prosecutor on TA, and was appointed a high court judge, I believe, and then somehow subsequently I think he went to the Court of Appeal, and then became CJ in rapid time and speed, and he was able to mastermind, and he was the godfather who controlled the judiciary, that is those who he could control, and those who he couldn't control, he engineered their exit or marginalized them. He also had control over the Attorney General's office. They were like his protégés. They were people that walked under him. The Attorney General, Mama Singate, walked under him. So they were like Ajim's sort of protégés.
You referred to him as the godfather.
He was the godfather. He was the godfather. I hope the judiciary, when they are given a chance, would have a sincere disclosure of what happened. It's very important to hear it from the horse's mouth, if I can put it that way. But from where we are as the bar, it was very obvious for anyone to see that Ajim was behind, was the invisible hand that controlled everything. And he was very clever with it. And it's even hard to find his, handprints, if I can call it that. So he used his relationship with the police and the NIA, and to make sure that, that this machinery, the Jammeh machinery, was well oiled and taken care of. So Jammeh had a lot of confidence in Ajim.
Can you tell us, by citing examples of how Ajim assisted in entrenching Jammeh's control and rule in the Gambia?
Ndax dañu mëna wax ci yan anam la Ajim sukkandiku woon ba mëna dooleel li nga xam ne mooy kàddu Jammeh yooyu ci bunti àtte bi fii ci biir réew mi.
Let me give an example. In as much as the bar was not as effective as it should have been in terms of taking on the regime.
Ma jox la fi benn misaal rek comme su fekkee ne ni ki baa bi niñ ko séntu woon doxewul noonu.
Jammeh was determined to really weaken or destroy the bar.
Jammeh nag amoon na yéene rek pour dal di nasaxloo baa bi.
Because he always felt that that's the last bastion that would actually stand against him. So he's conquered everyone except the bar, but he minimized the impact of the bar. That's why it stopped.
Ndax daal di woon na yaakaar rek ne baa bi rek moo nekkoon loo xam ne ni dana mën a gundu xatal ndax jamono jooju dal dina nasaxal ñëpp ba mu des baa bi waaye nag wàññi woon na seen doole bu baax.
And one of the ways, in fact, it was Ajim who masterminded
Ajim nag moo toggoon yëpp.
The introduction of what is quote-unquote referred to here as rival bar.
Ci li nga xam ne nii mooy baa beneen bi nga xam ne nii dañ ko sosoon rek ak beneen mbootaay pour dal di dingat baa bële.
And this is well documented.
Lii nag nekk na loo xam ne nii lu ñu wéraloon la.
And the purpose of the rival bar basically was to weaken the main bar,
yes.
The parent body, that's the Gambia Bar Association.
jubluwaay bi taxoon ñu sos beneen mbootaay looye rek mooy pour nasaxal mbootaay looye yi nga xam ne ñoo njëkkoon a nekk.
This was the scheme. A law school was created, which is a good thing.
Lii moo nekkoon na jubluwaay mooy indi na fi benn luwaay buy school buy jàngale mbiri loi.
And this school was controlled by Ajim.
Te school bi nag Ajim moo ko doon moo ko tegoon loxo.
The idea is to overproduce lawyers.
Xalaat bi moo nekkoon pour ñu gën a bari le ay lawyer.
And then create a bar association.
Pour nag ut na geneen mbootaay lawyer.
And with time, those lawyers would obviously be aligned with that bar association, that law society, or whatever you want to call it.
Then
we'll dilute the Gambia bar association, even in terms of numbers. In fact, I believe my colleague LK Mboj testified here in this commission and claimed that he formed the law society because he was upset with the bar association for not helping him. Law society bar association and that we were used by Jammeh to petition against him.
Was that the case?
With all due respect, far from it. I would like to give you a letter. In fact, I would like to read the letter first. The letter is dated 25th of August, 2015.
August 2015.
It has a letterhead, Lamin Keba Mboj.
Lamin Keba Mboj.
Mari Bantang Chambers.
Mari Bantang Chambers.
Number 46 Keraba Avenue.
Number 46 Keraba Avenue.
Lions Plaza.
Lion Plaza.
First floor.
First floor.
His telephone numbers.
Telephone number
and email addresses.
Email address
addressed to the president of the Gambia Bar Association.
Ñu bind ko na mu dem ci président ni Gambia Bar Association bi.
Dated 25th August 2015.
Ñu bind ko ñaar fukki fan ak juroom ci wéri August 2015.
Salutation.
Ci nuyo ga.
Dear colleagues.
Mu ne mu ngi leen ñoom nawle mi.
Caption. The caption is apology letter.
Ligne bi nak lañ fa bind moy ak jéggalu, lettre jéggalu la.
After years of serious consideration,
gannaaw ay at yu bari yoo xam ne nag ñu ngi bàyyi xel.
I have advised myself.
Dal dinaa yedda suma bopp.
Write this apology letter.
Pour bind nag lettre yi jéggalu bi.
For the purpose of clearing all doubts.
Pour nag leeral nag mboolem jax-jaxle.
And creating an atmosphere of understanding and mutual respect.
Te itamen yaatal ak itamen di fiixal nag jotaay boo xam ne nii ñun ñëpp dañ déggante te itamen cëralante.
I have never.
Mosuma.
Will never insult.
Te mosuma saga. Xaste.
Demean.
Tuutilo.
Disrespect my colleagues.
Wala ñàkkee cër sumay nawle.
As I am not that type of character.
Ndax jikkoowuma noonu.
I have been an active member.
Nekkoon naa nag ci mbootaay gi.
And want to maintain my relationship with all my colleagues.
Te bëgg naa fas nag suma jokkoo ak ñëpp.
But due to circumstances beyond my control.
Waaye ndek nag yenn anam yoo xam ne nii daal jéggi na ma.
And acting in self-defense.
Te itamit nag di yëngatu ci anam goo xam ne nii dana pour aar suma bopp la.
I was compelled to make those publications to save myself from incarceration.
Dañ ma forcé woon nag pour ma def nag ay kàddu yooyu noonu feeñal ko ngir ma musal suma bopp ci fiñ ma jàppoon.
I spoke to Mr. Sheriff Tambedou.
Wax naa ak Mr. Sheriff Tambedou.
And Ms. Senghor.
Ak Mrs. Senghor.
And explained myself to convey my deepest apologies to all my colleagues at the bar.
Pour nag àggale nag suma ina ci jéggal goo xam ne maa ngi koy jéggal suma mbokki looyaay yépp.
But it seems that is not enough.
Waaye nag dama gis ne loolu doyul.
The reasons for these publications are.
Li waraloon nag kàddu yooyu mooy.
Hold on. Number one.
Benn.
I received a call after 11 p.m.
Dama jot na call fukki waxtu benn ci guddi.
From the then Solicitor General.
Ci ki nga xam ne moo nekkoon Solicitor General bi. Pa Hari.
That I should make this press release.
Ne dama war a def press release bi kàddu yi.
In order to foil the strike organized by the Bar Association.
Ngir nag fomu nag li nga xam ne nii mooy strike grève boo xam ne nii Bar Association baa ngi ko fas ina.
Point two.
Ñaareel bi mooy.
I refused initially.
Ca njëlbeen dama bañoon.
But I was compelled to do otherwise.
Waaye nag dañ ma forcé woon pour ma def.
Otherwise I'll go to jail, in quotes.
Loko mooy nag dama doon dem kaso.
Capital, that's what's on this letter.
Loolu moo nekk ci lettre bi.
The compromise was to withdraw the pending criminal prosecution.
li nga xam ne nag loolu lañ ca jaayalante nag mooy pour ñu génne nag tuuma yi nga xam ne ni moom lañ teg suma kaw.
Point 3.
ñetteeli fànn bi mooy.
Solicitor General himself.
Solicitor General bi si boppam.
That is Pahari Jammeh.
muy Pahari Jammeh.
Called me around 11:30.
mu oo ma fukki waxtu benn bu tegee fanweeri minutes ci guddi.
Called the then Managing Director Observer.
dal di call it ki nga xam ne mooy Managing Director bu Daily Observer.
To give him a telephone interview.
pour dal di ko jox nag téléphone interview boo xam ne dana ko am ak moom.
The next day it was on the headlines of the Observer.
ci ëllëg si nag mu nekk nag li nga xam ne moo gën a fës ci xibaar yi Observer bi.
That's why only the Observer made the first publication.
loolu mooy njëlbeen bi nga xam ne ni Observer bi def nañ yébaane boobu.
The subsequent publications.
li nga xam ne moo topp nag ci yébaane boobu.
I received a document in writing bearing my name as the author.
jël naa ab leetar boo xam ne jot naa ko mu ñu ngi ci def suma tur.
When I was not.
ne man maa ko bindoon te du man.
I received the document from a colleague from the then Chief Justice.
jël naa leetar bi nag ci suma benn xarit boo xam ne mu ngi nekkee ci Chief Justice bi foofu.
To reply to the reaction of the bar.
pour nag ci tontu li nga xam ne mu ngi jëm ci baa bi.
The language is so strong that I wanted to edit it.
kàddu yi nag nekk na kàddu yoo xam ne nii lu dëgër la te bëgg naa koo seggaat.
But I was told not to do so.
waaye nag dañ ma wax ne daal bu ma ko seggaat.
I was so angry.
dama meroon lool nag.
That I did not even read the body of the document, and I just.
ne jànguma sax li nga xam ne moom la leetar bi ëmb.
And I just distributed it to the press.
ci laa ko jël rek daal di ko àggale ci buntu tasekaay xibaar yi.
It was only after that publication.
gannaaw nag yébaane boobu noonu nag.
that I knew it was intended for two of our colleagues who were having differences with the then Chief Justice.
lii nag dañ ko jëmaloon rek ci suñ ñaari nawle yoo xam ne nii ñu ngi amoon féewaloo ak Chief Justice bi.
Mr. Dabo and Mrs. A. Bensouda.
muy Mr. Dabo ak Mrs. A. Bensouda.
I have learned from experience.
daal naa jàngee nag ci li ma gis.
that when you have a problem.
ne saay boo amee ay jafe-jafe.
some will support you.
dana am ñoo xam ne dañ ànd ak yow.
and others will against you.
ak ñeneen ñoo xam ne dañ la dingat.
I have great respect for my colleagues.
am naa nag cër bu baax ak yelleef bu yaatu suma moroom yi.
and no one I never intended to insult or annoy anyone.
te itamit mosuma am ina pour xas kenn wala merloo kenn.
the registration.
bindu gi.
of the new bar.
ci bind ak baa bu ees.
emanated.
mu ngi fàqee koo ci.
from the then Chief Justice.
nga xam ne moo nekkoon Chief Justice bi.
who gave the instructions.
moom bi nga xam ne moo joxe woon ndigal li.
and he said on the advice from above him.
te itamit ne ci ndigal loo xam ne mu ngi jóge koo ci lu ko weesu.
I hope that this letter is sufficient explanation for the past.
Letter bi nag nekk na loo xam ne nii doy na pour leeral li nga xam ne moom la ñu jox gannaaw.
which is deeply regretted.
nga xam ne nii rëccu nañu koy itamit.
as it was not enough to save me from the continuation of the proceedings leading to my conviction.
te nag nekkutoon sax loo xam ne nii mujjee woon na sowe ma ci continuer gi nga xam ne ñu ngi ko doon continuer pour atte ma.
I want to convey this apology.
maa ngi bugg a àggale nag njéggalu gi.
the rest of my colleagues.
ci ñi nga xam ne nii ñoo des ci sumay nawle.
know that.
ñu xam ne.
I have not.
mosuma.
and will never insult my colleagues.
te duma mosa xas sumay nawle.
whilst waiting for your reaction.
ci jamono bi nga xam ne maa ngi xaar nag seen tontu.
I remain.
ma des nag.
yours faithfully.
di koo xam ne nii ko ajoog yéen ci teraanga la.
signed.
signé ko nag di. Lamin. K. Mbodj.
legal practitioner.
di koo xam ne mu ngi yaxantu ci mbiri lawyer.
This letter.
Letter B.
From Mr. Lamin K. Mbodj. From its contents. Emphasize your point. On the executive wanting to weaken the bar. And in so doing, a colleague of yours was used to establish a different bar association.
te pour ñu mëna am lolu nak dañ jël keneen ci ñi nga xamné say ay natangu lañ pour taxawal ko mom mu taxawal benen mbotay lawyer.
Can you kindly give us a context into the establishment of this association, the sister association?
Di ñu mëna wax nak ci anam yi nga xamné non lañ sosé benen mbotay bi nga xamné ay mbotay lawyer lañ.
In your testimony you mentioned planned protests.
Ci sa sédé wax nga fi fexé bo len doon def na pour def ay ñaxtu.
That the Gambia Bar Association had planned to host.
Ne yeen lawyer Gambia yi sen mbotay bi ñu fas yéene def ñaxtu bobu.
Frankly, I, with respect, I don't want to belabor the point. For the simple fact that letter and other documents which I have provided to you, on the face of it, speaks to the truth as to why, as to our role as a Gambia Bar Association. Number one, the reason I brought this letter within the context of your question was to show how a Chief Justice, a foreign Chief Justice, a foreigner, we have given so much, comes to our country, managed to infiltrate the sons and daughters of our profession, view to divide us for the benefit of one person. And of course for his benefit because he enjoyed the patronage. He came here as a measly DPP and left here as a Chief Justice. And I believe the job he has today is because of that. I think he's at the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He did that on the back of Gambians. In fact, prominent lawyers like Femi Falana and others protested when he was being appointed in Nigeria because they knew damage he has done in this country. So my point is, I mean, he was very crafty. He used, my colleague, Mr. Mboj, who I have respect for. In fact, we have very good relationship. When I was elected as bar president, the first person I called when I left the hall was Mr. Mboj. To inform him that as legal practitioners, we should speak and come together as one family. And we continue to enjoy a very healthy and a very good relationship up to today. Unfortunately, he found himself in a situation where he was convicted by a court of law. Both a magistrate and I think the High Court upheld. At the time, I was a member of the executive. He was under the presidency of Lumna Farage. So at the time, Jammeh was trying to get the lawyers. And we knew that if we did not take steps to ensure that lawyers are accountable, State House will do it.
State House dañ ko def.
NIA will do it.
NIA dañ ko def.
For that reason,
ci wàll woowu.
when we, because of following the conviction of my learned friend,
toftal na jàpp ak suma nawle boobu.
we petitioned the GLC.
ñu dal di petition.
Bring it to their attention.
pour nag ñu yëgal ko.
As required by law.
Comme ni nga xamee noonu la ko loi sako.
Duty bound by law.
te ko na di loi.
By the Legal Practitioners Act.
ak sarta bi nga xam ne ni moo jëm ci wàlli ñu yaxantu ci wàlli.
To report this to the GLC.
pour nag ñu kalaame ko.
And he was not the only one that was reported. There were 3 other lawyers who were reported.
te tamit nag du moom rek lañ report am na yeneen ñetti lawyers yu ñu report.
I believe I have given you the copy of that petition.
yaakaar naa woon jox naa la petition boobu.
And
kindly check in your records. I only have some of the reports and some other documents that I've already admitted.
I can. I can avail you the. I have a petition dated 12 August by the address to the Chief Justice as Chair of the General Legal Council, pursuant to Section 26 of the Legal Practitioners Act. And I also have a response from the General Legal Council acknowledging receipt of the petition.
And this was a petition against several
Yes.
legal practitioners
Yes.
that were found wanting one way or the other
Yeah.
against the code of conduct.
Yes, and this was because we got information that Jammeh is about to clamp down on lawyers
ñun jotoon nañ
in a big way.
ne Jammeh mu ngi doon fexe rek pour dama laa fi lawyer yi.
And that there was, and at the time there was also a lot of legitimate complaints against lawyers.
te jamono jooju nag am nañ ay tawat yu bari yoo xam ne ñu ko doon teg ci kaw lawyer yi.
And these complaints were being sent to NIA, police, State House.
te tawat yooyu yóbbu nañ ko ci NIA, police ak State House.
And even at that point in time, I recall that there was even, at the instance of the executive, there was a notice published in the newspaper.
de jamono boobu sax am na lu ñu yëgal ci newspaper bi.
Anybody who has a complaint against a lawyer can send it to State House or the NIA. I remember there was that publication.
ne képp koo xam ne am na tawat ci benn lawyer mun nga koo yóbbu NIA wala State House.
Unfortunately, I don't have the copy.
amuma na copy boobu.
As an executive, we felt that we have to change the way we regulate lawyers.
te foog si ñu wecc na ni nga xam ne daal noonu lañ doon régler mbiri lawyer yi.
And we felt that we should not protect lawyers who break the law.
te ñu jàpp rek ne daal waruñoo aar nag lawyer yi nga xam ne dañu kat loi yi.
Of our code of conduct.
wala itamit nga xam ne daal defuñ ci doxuñ ak yar.
So that's when we actually started taking professional ethics very seriously at that time.
foofu nag lañ jël nag ay professional ethics yoo xam ne ni ci waxtu woowu.
And that was the time we also intensified the participation of the bar at the GLC, the General Legal Council.
jamono boobu nag ci lañ xóotal nag soobuteel lawyer yi.
Because General Legal Council is vested with the power to regulate legal practice in the Gambia, not the bar.
GLC nag daldi woon nañ leen jox nag doole ci doxalin bi fi waaye na nekkul ci baa bi.
And what is the composition of the General Legal Council?
It is chaired by the Chief Justice.
Chief Justice nag moo koy jiite.
Justice. The Deputy Chair is Attorney General.
Deputy Chair bi nag mooy Attorney General bi.
Then you have well, over time it changed. Then you have members representative of the Gambia Bar, of the Gambia Bar Association.
Nga am fa ku nga xam ne ni mooy teewal na Gambia Bar Association bi.
And then you have someone nominated by the president, I believe.
Nga am koo xam ne nii nag tànneef la ci président bi.
Then you have high court judge.
Gannaaw loolu nga ami tamit nag high court judge.
But at the time, during our executive that in the beginning we had we started enjoying some kind of like a tour in the sort of Cold War, because our president was the first bar president to meet President Jammeh. Not the executive, our president, Lumna Faraj, was able to meet Jammeh during our tenure. Before that, it was an impasse. So in our executive, we were like sort of more, I would say, tactful and diplomatic, because we had a group, like Lumna and I were sort of the more diplomatic group, and then we had Aziz Bensouda and Yasin, who were like, sort of the warriors. So we always had this sort of trying to balance this out. So during the Lumna's tenure, there was an opening to discuss, to rebuild the relationship, and we really made efforts to do this. In fact, we sponsored the drafting of the GLC. I think we engaged Cherno Marina to draft GLC that allowed the bar to participate in the GLC together with the executive, and it worked very well until we had an issue. I don't remember what it was within the GLC. We didn't agree with the AG at the time. And
as in the General Legal Council?
Yes, the General Legal Council. And then our membership was reduced from 4 to 1 by the AG. Suddenly, that's when we were diluted, and then that's when they started changing the law to open the door for another law society. It was all part of the scheme of, when we were talking to them, they thought they could control us. But when they realized that, in as much as we had a change of strategy to be able to engage the executive, they mistook that for control. And when they couldn't have it, they started, sort of retracting and started getting difficult and tough. And then that's when they changed the LPA. That's why you have 2015, 2016, 2017 LPA. So you can see all those amendments. So they amended the act to reduce our membership from 4 to 1, so that we are basically outnumbered. But today we are back to 4 under the current system.
And that was all Jet was weakening the bar.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And yes, so basically, in the process, the President Lumna had to. This was in 2016. It was a very tough year.
2016
So Lumna, I think, resigned.
I was
vice president, so I had to serve the rest of her term. I was supposed to finish her term. I didn't finish it. And I also had to resign, because at the time there was this famous the GNPC case, they call it. There were nine, the board of GNPC and my brother, who happens to be a director and Minister of Finance, were all charged with economic crime. My older brother. And taken to Mile 2.
I will want to discuss the GNPC case later on. For now, I'd like to take you back to Justice Agim's tenure as Chief Justice. Can you tell us some of the excesses that prevailed during his tenure as Chief Justice?
I
mean, I think in terms of getting rid of Gambian judges, I think more judges got sacked under the watch of Ajim. think Hadi Rush, I think, if I'm correct, Kumba Kamara.
Kumba Kamara.
I think Almami Tal.
Almami Tal.
I think even Justice Mbai at some point.
If Justice Mbai, that's the end jamano.
So basically, he wanted to purge the judiciary
Dalde wona commencé nak di
of persons he didn't feel were aligned to or amenable to being controlled by him.
Ci ñi nga xamné dal mënutol leena tek loxo.
And basically had his way. Anybody he didn't like, he'll be fired.
Képp ko xamné dal neexulo ko rek dal dana la dàq.
I'd like to read paragraph 30 of your statement. You said something really interesting about the period wherein Justice Ajim was CJ. You stated the era of Ajim was the beginning of the darkest period in terms of erosion of the judicial independence.
Jamonoy Hajim nak moy jamono ji nga xamne mo commencé jamono ju gëna metti bi gëna lëndëm pour nak bunti atté bi mëna dox ci seen wali afia boppa.
And that of the office of the Attorney General, who was essentially his protege.
Akete office Attorney General bi nga xamne mom moy andandoram won.
The lines between the Attorney General's chambers and the judiciary were essentially blurred during the Ajim time.
Jamono Ajim nak ci la daldi dugalante li nga xamne moy bunti atté gi ak wali attekat yi.
They worked together to ensure the desired outcome were obtained in cases.
Ñoo doon liggéeyandor pour am li nga xamne mom lañ soxla ci yenn ci bunti atté gi.
In cases that the state in court had interest in.
Ci ay bunta yoo xamne nak nguur gi ñoom amoon nañ ci aajo bu baaxa baax.
And you cited the code word for Jammeh's interests.
Te waxoon nga ci sax ne loo xamne daal aajo Jammeh la.
You said in fact,
ndax xam nga ne sax
Jammeh was the state.
Jammeh mooy woon réew mi de.
This was confirmed when a group of parliamentarians and chiefs went around the country campaigning for Jammeh to be made leader for life.
Lii mooy woon jamono ji nga xamee ne ay député ak ay chief ñu ngi doon wër réew mi pour campagne ndax Jammeh ñu def ko njiit ba faw.
There was also a march called No More Elections, all in the name of Babili Mansa.
Amoon na sax march boo xam ne ñu ngi ko doon def ne élection sax waratuda am yëpp ci turi Babili Mansa.
And this was in the era of Ajim as CJ.
Lii yëpp nag mu ngi xew jamonoy Ajim bi mu nekkee Chief Justice.
You talked about the judiciary being in cohorts with the Attorney General's chambers to achieve the desired outcome for state-interested cases.
Wax nga judiciary ak Attorney General niñ boolooyee pour bokk benn jubluwaay ñu mun a am liñ soxla ci ay bunta yoo xam ne nguur gi am nañ ci ite.
Can you kindly shed light on that?
Di ñu mun a leeralal fànn boobu.
I mean, I think the judiciary would actually be better placed to give more tangible examples, because there are judges who have been, given instructions directly.
Judiciaire bi nak ñom ñoy mëna gëna joxe ay misal ndax amna jojo xamné ni ay ndigal lañ leen joxon.
I don't want to, for example, there state councils who were at the Attorney General's chambers know exactly what was happening.
State council yi nekkon ci Attorney General's chambers ñoo xam nañ li doon dox.
And I think in terms of giving concrete examples, they are much better placed to give concrete examples. Because you have to remember, we as lawyers, we were not directly privy. Whatever I say in that regard would be hearsay. And apart from what is reported to us.
Comme ñun lawyer nak lepp luñ wax rek dafa melni wax juñ sotande ko la rek ñom dal judiciaire ñom ñoo gëna mëna léral ay masal ci lool.
But what is clear,
waye nak li leer moy
that the coming of Ajim led to the phasing out of the Commonwealth judges.
Li nga xamné ni moy walu tek Ajim nak motax mu jégi Commonwealth joju bari continuer dem.
And he started going out to Nigeria recruiting his own judges.
Mu dal di dem na Nigeria di indi ay jooji boppam.
I think that's when the term mercenary judges started being used.
Ci la commencé na di jël mercenary judges yooyu ñu koy wax di jooji ñuy fay.
And these judges were really of low caliber, uncouth, and really not even fit to be magistrates.
Te nag di jooj yoo xam ne daal seen njàng tollu foofu te modu ñoo mot sax ay magistrate.
And they coming to Gambia was a huge upgrade for them. So that patronage he used to hire judges and then use the judiciary as an instrument of the executive.
Jooj yooyu nag seen ñëw fii nag nekk na loo xam ne lu rëy la woon ci ñoom ndax moom it teraanga gi mu am bay mën a jëli ay jooj di leen indi fii.
And then he treated our Gambian judges, particularly those who were independent, with contempt.
Te tamit nag daf daan xeeb lool suñ jooj yi.
Abdul Karim Savage.
Abdul Karim Savage.
May his soul rest in peace.
Na ko Yàlla yërëm.
When he was sacked,
jamono biñ ko dàqee,
he was handing over to Ajim.
Te tamit nag mu ngi doon joxe nag lengay Ajim.
They had paramilitary people.
Amoon nañ ay paramilitary yu fa nekk. NIA.
Not only that.
Du loolu rek de.
They machinated charges against him.
Dañ jël ay tuuma teg ko ci kawam.
With the dignity of that office, they charged him at Banjul Magistrate Court.
Ci teranga office boobu ak daraja jooju dañ ko càcc ci Banjul Magistrate Court.
Luckily, it was averted. It didn't continue.
Ci li ko may saan sax continuer wuñ ko.
And I recall having a conversation.
Man naa fàttale ko waxtaan woo xam ne ni amoon naa ko.
With a particular Inspector General of Police. I will write his name.
Ben Inspector General bu police danaa bind turam.
Was called the best IGP in the Gambia by the president at the time.
Koo xam ne ni nag moom président wax na ne mooy IGP yu gën a baax ci Gambia.
Remember this day, I came from Parliament. The late Mamadou Njai, former Speaker.
Ki nekkoon Speaker Mamadou Njai.
Before Parliament.
Biñ ko tegee nag ci kanam Parliament bi ci dëjam bi.
I was walking back because I knew this IGP very well. I knew him when he was a station officer.
Ci laa ko xam depuis bi ma nekk station officer.
And he told me, Sal.
Ci la ma wax nag Sal.
This your CJ.
Seen Chief Justice bi.
He's too soft.
Daal nekk na ko oyof lool.
He's not doing the job.
Nekku di def liggéeyam.
And that I have been there to tell him several times that he has to behave himself, otherwise he will kick him out.
Te yàgg naa di ko wax su ko defutee dañ ko génne.
So I told him, you actually IGP went to see. He said yes.
yow IGP dem nga si moom sa di ko wax mu ne ma waaw.
He told the president to bring Ajim back and to replace him.
Ci la wax sax ne wax na président mu indiwaat Ajim pour remplacer ko.
And that's exactly what happened.
Te loolu nag moo xew.
I'm on oath.
maa ngi waat.
I swore to the Quran.
maa ngi waat ci Alxuraan bi.
Actually happened.
Te loolu moo xew.
Nobody told me this particular IGP.
li kenn waxul ma ko IGP bi moo ma ko wax.
Who incidentally is back in the force today.
Te ba tey nag mu ngi si force bi tey.
Was even part of that no to election campaign, no to election match. He was part of it.
Te mu ngi nekkoon nag ci election boobu noonu ñu campagne boobu ñu de wax ni daal amatuñ war ñoo def election.
Serving in our police force.
The IGP boobu mu ngi liggéey ci suñ police force bi.
And this incident is with respect to Justice Abu Karim Savage.
And to take it further, we wanted to, I mean, it is customary that, I mean, when Justice Savage passed away,
gannaaw bi Justice Savage gaañoo,
it is customary for the judiciary to have a valedictory ceremony.
Dana doon nekk na aada nag pour judiciaire bi amoon lu jëm ci wàllu xew dëj boobu.
Justice Ajim was not interested in that.
Te Justice Ajim daal aajowutoon ko.
So we had to do it as a bar association.
Te kon ñun ni ñu ko mujjee woon def rek mooy comme ne ci bar association mbootaay lawyer gi.
So we did our best to hold a fitting valedictory for Justice Savage in court number 1.
Ci lañ def nag xew-xew boobu ci court number 1.
And meanwhile, when the Nigerian judges Ikpala and Amadi were leaving,
jamono bi Amadi ak Ikpala doon ñibbi.
Didn't die, they were just leaving back to Nigeria.
ñoom deewuñ de te dañ doon dem ñibbi rek Nigeria.
So Ajim organized a very fitting valedictory for them.
Te Ajim na oote woon nag benn xew-xew bu rëy pour ñoom.
I remember my colleague, Mama Singate,
fàttale ku naa suma benn nawle Mama Singate
who was Attorney General at the time. She was very embarrassed by the situation.
nga xam ne ni moo nekkoon Attorney General jamono boobu amoon na gàcce lool ci mbir moom.
She begged, she said, Sal, we cannot allow this. At least let the Aegis office have a role in it.
ci la wax ne lii daal mënuñ ko seetaan nañ am wàll ci lii.
Because we were actually going to have it in a hotel.
ndax ñu ngi ko waroon a defee ci hotel.
He said, okay, we can have it in court number 1.
ñu ko defee ci court number 1.
And you can participate.
tey tamit nga cee bokk.
I mean, this is just, an example of, how in our own country,
lii nag mooy rek ci suñu
we are
réew
second-class citizens, even as lawyers.
nga xam ne nii nag second hand citizen nga rek nekkoo lawyer.
Ajim era.
ci jamono Ajim.
And you also mentioned that Justice Savage, as he then was charged before the magistrate court, and the charges did not proceed.
Yes.
wax nga féero aju ci Justice Savage ne dañ ko tuumaaloon ci kanam magistrate bi waaye nag sotti wutoon.
Can you recall what he was charged with?
Mun nga fàttaliku lan lañ ko tuumaaloon.
I think it was in connection with, there was some judicial staff who were being investigated and charged with alleged appropriation of funds in the Sheriff Department, I believe.
loolu nag ñi doon liggéey ci judiciaire bi rek te ñu tuumaaloon leen ne daal lu jëm ci wàllu kasaara koppar yi.
And it was supposedly under his watch.
te tamit loolu ci ronam la woon.
Notwithstanding the fact that he is not an accounting officer, because the JS is the accounting officer.
nekkul nag ne mooy seen accounting officer bi.
But he was being sort of lumped together with, people from the Sheriff Department.
ñu boole ko ñi nga xam ne rek ñoo nekk ci Sheriff Department.
I believe the intervention of Antuman Gay was what saved the day.
ndimbali Antuman Gay de
Banjul Magistrates Court.
moo ko sowee.
I think it's very important that this TRRC speak to Antuman Gay.
te xam naa daal dana am solo lool pour TRRC bi waxtaan ak Antuman Gay.
Very experiences that I think would really help.
am na experience bu baax boo xam ne ni dana.
I know he was reluctant, but I have to say this.
xam naa nag dana ci tayal lool waaye nag am naa pour lii.
Talks to the TRRC. He has a lot to say. He witnessed a lot.
Mr. Gay war naa ñëw fii TRRC ndax fekkee na lu bari.
Lawyer.
lu ëpp nag lawyer yu bari fii.
Thank you very much for that. The state also used other means to violate the rights of its citizens and also to silence its opponents, which included lawyers. And that is one of which is the use of the law to persecute its opponents. What can you tell us about that?
réew mi tamit ñu ngi doon sukkandiku pour daan ci kaw ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi leen doon ŋàñña jamono joo xam ne ñoom tam ñu ngi jëloon ay luwaa teg ko ci seen kaw opposition bi léegi loo am pour wax ci loolu.
Yeah, like I said, the legal framework was instrumentalized to satisfy the objectives of JAME. So you have, for example, the economic crime decree, which maybe at the time it was drafted was purportedly to fight corruption, but its net is so wide that literally anybody can be charged with economic crime. It's so easy to charge with economic crime. It's so easy, and for example, giving false information or false publication.
Which Moses Richards was charged for.
Yeah. Yes.
He was caught under that net as well.
Moses Richards lañ ko jàppee moom tamit.
So all these repressive, some of them colonial laws, were being used to prosecute. I remember somebody was charged for broadcasting a UDP rally on Skype. I believe Nene Cham was the person's lawyer.
façon mbir yooyu lañ doon jëfoo rek fàttaliku naa sax koo xam ne dafa feeñal rally boo xam ne mu ngi doon am woone ko Skype.
Simple as that. You could have a FaceTime or a Skype of information, and if the information happens to be untrue, you can be charged. And by the way, that is still in our books up to today.
Waaw dañ ko doon jëlee rek jël si wàllu xibaar yi bu nekkee ne dégguwul mun nañ laa teg tuuma loolu sax ñu ngi ko am ba léegi ci suñ téere yi.
So they always find ways of trying to, if they believe an individual could be a problem or doesn't agree with them or for whatever malicious reason, they could always use the law to charge you. I mean, there's always a way, and they had lawyers, prosecutors who will find a way of doing it. And what they will do, for example, they will charge you with an offense that will not stick in the court of law. They will take you to the magistrate court first, knowing that the magistrate court doesn't have jurisdiction, and then you'll be remanded, right? You'll be remanded. Because the magistrate will say, well, we'll decline jurisdiction, will not entertain your bail application. You're remanded. And the case file has to be transferred to the High Court. And how long it takes is entirely in the hands of the police. So you could languish in mile 2 for 1 month, whilst administratively or otherwise, your file is being transported to the High Court where you can apply bail. Just to make sure that you are in detention.
And in such cases, justice delayed is obviously justice denied.
It's a way of actually teaching you a lesson. So anybody they want to keep in Malta for 1 month, with the best of lawyers, they will keep you in Malta for 1 month. And actually that is still happening now.
ñoom daal kuñ bëgg a teg mile 2 soo boo mu dem ba diiri weer ak lawyer bu baax boo mun a am dinañ la fa teg diiri weer te loolu mu ngee dox bi léegi.
The status quo has not changed.
Bon nag soppeeku amagul de.
The more things change, the more they remain the same.
buñ ne soppeeku am na ba léegi na meloon rek noonu la mel ben tey.
How about bail conditions?
Naka ci mbir anam yi ñoo joxe nit ki bail.
I remember during this GNPC case, bail conditions were set. The allegation was $18 million was lost, economic loss caused by by the accused persons. So the average bail condition was about $1.8 million. And they said dollars, not dollars, dollars.
Dollars?
Yes. When I will send you the processes, you'll see it for yourself. My brother was one of the accused persons. So was Sira Walindao and Fafa Sajang, current Minister of Energy, Cherno Marina, and others.
And this was in 2016, correct?
16.
And this was one of the reasons why you resigned as an executive member of the Gambia Bar Association.
Exactly. This was
2016.
I tell you what really broke my heart.
My
older brother, Alhaji Tal, Mamadou Tal, who is currently deputy PS.
Suma mag Alhaji Mamadou Tal nga xamne jamono moy deputy PS.
Minister of Finance.
Ci ministre bi sétu wali caisse nguur gi.
He deputized for his PS, attended a board meeting.
Dafa teewaloon PS am ci benn board meeting.
Went to Dubai.
Mu dem bi Dubai.
And that was his crime.
Loolu rek moo nekk problème jafe-jafe.
So all those people, all those whose names are on the board minutes.
ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekkoon ci board minutes bi yëpp.
Taken to mile 2.
ñoom lañ jàpp yóbbu leen mile 2.
Firstly, NIA then mile 2.
ci njëlbeen NIA gannaaw bi dem mile 2.
PS.
Minister PS.
Board of Directors.
Board of Directors.
Secretary to the board.
Secretary to the board.
And Jammeh came on TV.
te Jammeh ñëw na ci télé bi.
And said that he will make sure that he will punish them. He will lock them up. He said it.
mu ñëw di wax rek ne moom dana gis ne daal dana.
I remember so that's why I'm sorry we cannot always. Jammeh was a monster.
Jammeh ku soxor la woon.
But there are many Gambians.
am na
fed this
Gambien
monster.
ñoo ko daan dimbale.
I remember when Jammeh was making this pronouncement.
maa ngi fàttaliku Jammeh bi mu doon wax kàddu yi.
When he was saying that the loss is $18 million and I'm going to divide it between them.
te tamit ne yàqu-yàqu bi dem na bi $1 million ak $1
elder, religious elder.
kenn ci kilifa yooyu.
did the calculation for him and said, it is this much. He said, oh, and he laughed, Mr. Jammeh laughed about it. He said, oh, you're a very good accountant. He said, how much it is? He said, $1.8 million, thereabouts.
Kenn ku benn kilifa daal ci saa si la ko calculer tal.
In this Gambia.
Jammeh.
So, and so these bail conditions were just impossible to meet, onerous, very onerous conditions to meet.
Condition bail yooyu na mënuñoon koy mottali.
It was difficult to meet. And I remember my brother, we used to communicate through, because there are good people in NIA, honestly, there are good people who will help you communicate.
Am na NIA yu baax na ñu ngi doon jàppale pour ñu wax.
At 1 a.m. and to see my brother and bring him food and stuff like that. And one day he called me, he said, Sal, I'm scared.
Ci la ma ne Sala tiit naa de.
They put him in a pickup.
Dañ ko dugal ci benn pickup.
Drove him to Janjambure.
Yóbbu ko Janjambure.
And just to scare him and brought him back the next day.
Yóbbu ko ba Janjambure pour tiital ko rek indiwaat ko waat.
That was the time that I decided that, I have to do everything to also save my brother.
Ci la wax ne na man daa war naa def lépp lu ma man pour
clearly being bar president, at the point where we are on collision clause with the government,
ci jamono boo nga xam ne nag
endear me with the executive, and I had to make that choice between family and country. Unfortunately, at that time, I actually did for my brother.
Ci laa jël nag tànn nag kii suma brother ak muy suma family.
And this was the case also that the former Solicitor General, Charles Mariner, testified about. He was also an accused person in this particular case.
The Minister of Petroleum, the Permanent Secretary, Fafa Sajan, who's now the Minister of Petroleum. And Sidi Kanyi, who happens to be, he was working for Social Security, happens to attend a board meeting, was also charged, arrested, and detained, and imprisoned.
Like, with respect to this case, everyone that attended the board meeting,
everybody.
Regardless of whether you're involved in causing the loss or not, you were arrested.
That is even if the loss is caused. Most of the people didn't have the power to even to enter into a contract.
They were
just in a board. They're the GNPC board
members. Board members of GNPC.
Why do you think this case was initiated during that period?
It
was all about, because there were certain, well, from the information I received, there were people who wanted that petroleum deal to go to them. So they went to Jammeh and reported that the deal that was signed by GNPC was not the best deal, and that it will cause Gambia this much losses. I told him that these your government people have been given bribes. In fact, it was the same Mohamed Bazi, for the record,
Mohamed Basi
who masterminded and orchestrated this. And we all know how much he was in bed with the president, as shown by the Janneh Commission. So I believe the president, for reason best known to him, maybe because he will gain from that deal, or otherwise, he decided to torpedo the entire deal and then arrest everyone. I'm just speculating, of course. And what is bizarre is, so this case sort of continued up to the time the government, the election was lost.
So they were
granted bail after the change of government. I remember the judge saying that now that the wind of change is blowing, I turned to Mr. Gay. I said, Mr. Gay, did you hear that? He said, in light of the wind of change, I hereby grant you bail. And I could not believe it. the same set of facts, the same condition, same law, same judge, because Jammeh had lost the election, he suddenly became a new human being.
Ci benn judge boobu benn loi benn tuuma bi mu nekk na nit ki nga xam ne nii nag fi mu nekk nii wecceeku na ndek Yaya Jammeh dem na.
Before,
te bu njëkk
in the middle of the case, he'll get up
ci digg case bi dana jóg.
And the prosecutor will tell us that they are waiting for clearance.
Mu jóg dem te tamit àttekat bi dana wax ne ñu ngi xaar clearance.
They are talking to State House as to what to accept, what not to accept.
Ñu ngi wax ak State House pour xam lan lañ war a nangu ak lan lañ war a nangu.
I was sitting there as a
clearance for a court proceeding to go on.
Yeah, exactly. They will say they will tell us, they will adjourn. We'll stand by the corridor and for like 1 hour they'll come back.
ñu toog di xaar bu ñu ñëwaat.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I saw this firsthand. Nobody told me this. I was there.
maa ngi fa woon.
That's typical interference with the judicial process.
It was not even, it was micromanagement. It was not interference. It was being managed, orchestrated, controlled, driven.
Dañ ko tegoon loxo di ko
Nothing
doxal.
that the AG will do without clearance.
nekk amul dara lu AG bi war a def te amul ndigal ca kaw.
So it was not about the law.
nekkutoon yëfi loi bi de.
For me, that was like, and you know, I wasn't surprised that Jammeh lost the election.
bettut ma nag ne Yaya Jammeh daanu na si wote bi.
You look at all those people there.
boo seetee nit ñoo ñëpp foofu.
Their diversity.
seen yaatuwaay.
These are Gambians who serve with distinction.
di Gambien yoo xam ne nii seen liggéey sell na fi.
Very distinguished families.
jóge ko ci njaboot gu wér.
From all tribes.
ci façon xeet bu ne.
You want to charge them at that point in time. The discussion we used to have on the corridor is, we didn't have hope in the legal process. We said, nañ ko bàyyi ba ci election bi rek. That was our discussion.
liñ daan wax rek moo nekk amuñ yaakaar nag.
Everybody was saying that
waaye nañ ko xaar ba wote.
Yeah, because Gambians, you know, unfortunately, only care when they're actually directly affected.
Gambien nag du dee yëg dara de ndare rek jamono bi li tawat dal ci kawam.
So at that point,
ci waxtu woowu.
there wasn't anybody who wasn't affected by Jammeh. Jola, Mandinka, Wolof.
Kenn koo xam ne nii nag
you name it.
soo tarawatuloo ci jamono Yaya Jammeh.
I'll just take you back before that case.
ma delloo la gannaaw balaa loolu.
In that year, that was right before the day before Korite.
bés balaa Korite.
He arrested all the permanent secretaries.
dafa jàppoon permanent secretary yëpp.
Over vehicle sales. I don't know if you remember that.
ci mbiri jaayam oto
every single permanent
yooyu.
secretary was arrested in one swoop. Every one of them.
mboolem
Came on
ku nekk
TV.
permanent secretary jàppoon nañ la.
And recounted that how he was talking to a young girl who asked that you should get this footage. He said that this young girl asked him to give him some money to buy a car. So he asked the girl how much, and the girl told him this car is going to cost, let's say, 200,000 or whatever, 200. And he said the girl told him that it's a deal from these government vehicles.
mu ne benn xale bu jigéen moo ko wax ne.
This is Jammeh himself explaining this. This is if you go to JRTS, it's there.
mu ne ñaata mu ne ko ñaar téeméeri junne mu ne daal loolu deal la
so he
ci
said,
oto yi.
okay, and then the girl's like, I have to give this money to the permanent secretary so that he will sell me this Terrano and the rest of it. He said,
mu ne
okay.
ci la ko jànq bi wax ne ko su ma joxee xaalis bi permanent secretary dama jaay
all
oto
the PSs.
jamono boobu ci la jàpp
And said
PS
that,
yëpp.
this vehicle sale should have given Gambia 100 million, and now all these corrupt PSs are selling it for, I don't know, 10 million.
di ko jaayee fukki million.
Arrested and detained all of them.
mu jàpp ñëpp.
Man, it didn't matter. All of them. So when you look at all of that, that's, I think, when Gambians started saying that, started recognize that Jammeh is an existential threat for everyone. It's not about whether you're with this party or that party.
waaw ci lañ
Our
mujjee gis
survival as a
ne Jammeh
people
mi
were tested beyond limit.
dana jéggi dayoo dafa jéggi dayoo nag fi mu nekk nii.
The first time I voted in my life was 2016.
jamono bi ma njëkkee wote ci atum
I made sure
ci
I
suma
woke up
dund
at
mooy
5 in the
atum
morning.
2016.
I called all my friends.
ma tere wax yégal suma mbokk
We have
yëpp
to make this vote count.
ne daal mbir mi forcé la ñu wote ji.
And indeed, Gambia did decide. Mr. Chairman, I believe that this is a convenient point to stop, then we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Council, and thank you, Mr. Tal. I have one or two small points to raise before we call it a day and then come back tomorrow. One of your commentaries was a very sad one, for me at least.
Yenna ci li nga wax fi de mbir mu daw yaram la ci man de.
And you were implying or saying that the deployment of Nigerian judiciary personnel, judges, DPPs, and etc.,
yaa ngi doon wax nag ñi nga xam ne ñooy ji si bàyyeekoo Nigeria commencé ca DPP ak ñeneen.
in our justice sector,
ci suñ bunti àtte bi.
made them, you Gambians working with them, you felt like you were second citizens in your own country and in your own profession.
dafa tax ba yéen mi nga xam ne sax yéen a nekk juddu réew mi mu mel ni yéen nekk juddoowu leen ci réew mi sax ci seen biir réew ci boppam.
How widespread was this feeling among Gambian lawyers?
loolu naka la tasaaroo woon yëg-yëg bii ci biir lawyer Gambia yi.
It was across the board. I mean, to the extent that if you had certain cases, and you want to win those cases, you have to engage certain lawyers. And mind you, it was not only Nigerian lawyers. Also, some Gambian lawyers were part of that crew. I recall Justice Wo's house, Kairaba Avenue. That was like the center where you would see them meet. You would see the car of the CJ. They would go there and drink. You see the car of CJ. You see the car of Solicitor General. You see the car of some Gambian lawyers. Some High Court judges. Openly, it was next to Hatib Jane's place. I forgot the name again. Envy. If you would actually go there and you will see their cars like parked there. Special prosecutor Inkia from at the time from Cameroon. You see Bahari Jame's car there. You see some lawyers' cars there. Some magistrates. All of them. There was this clique. And also Yankuba Baji was always there. This clique were running the show. And if you're not part of this clique, forget it. So a lot of, so even sometimes a case will go to the Chief Justice, he would recommend to you what lawyer to take. It was a mess. We were relegated to second class in our own country.
And in your own profession.
In your own profession.
Extraordinary. You didn't feel like, the analogy is not probably appropriate, that the pre-94 feeling like that among the military, the hearings that we heard at the beginning of our public hearings, the testimonies we heard concerning the coup in 94 and times preceding that, soldiers came in here talking about almost exactly the same thing. Absolutely. And if that motivated them to overthrow the constitutional system, were you guys motivated to do anything? You
at least not to overthrow the constitution. To be honest with you, for me personally, I hold dual nationality. And I had said myself that if this election goes to Jammeh, I will definitely relocate. There's no question about that. And many professions I know were saying they would relocate. And I had friends, Gambian friends who were highly qualified, who would call me and who could serve Gambia, and I'll beg them not to come to Gambia. These are Ivy League Gambians and other places who can. I'm like, don't ever think of coming to Gambia. And I felt that it was a mistake coming back to Gambia, for sure. So for me, and because, every day I wake up, I go to work, I felt I had no guarantee coming back to my house. I used to joke that my gardener that I see every day riding on his bike, he had more freedom than me because nobody will arrest him. But for me, every day I leave my house, there's no guarantee I'll come back. for one thing or another. That's how we lived. Every single day.
Incredible. Commissioners, if you have any questions, you want to wait until tomorrow, no, we can do that. Go ahead, please. Imam C.
Mr. SALIEU TAAL.
Mr. SALIEU TAAL.
jërëjëf ci wax bi rafet na trop.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
man de li may laaj mooy.
My question is,
yéen lawyer yi.
you the lawyers,
ñi nga xamante ne lawyer Gambia yi la.
Gambian lawyers especially,
yéen itam yéen yëpp seen diggante nag mu ngi amoon jub.
were you in cordial relationship?
ndax wala mu ngi amoon ay xaaj ñii tafu ci Yaya Jammeh ñii tafuwuñ ci moom.
Or were you divided with others, with Yaya Jammeh, sided with Yaya Jammeh and others continue with you?
xam naa ne gan yi moom lu ko neex rek lañ doon def.
I know those from the outside, they are always with Yaya Jammeh.
man loolu laa bëggoon a laaj.
That's what I want to ask.
I think
Yaakaar naa ne
there were some, to be honest, the majority of lawyers were indifferent.
lu bëri na si lawyer yi daal dañ uti woon.
I have to be honest about this.
li na foog si rek ma jub si.
In the sense that
ci loo xam ne nii.
as long as they're earning their living,
ndegem ndax daal ñu ngi dund.
they can turn a blind eye
mën nañoo
to
dumóoyu.
what is happening in our backyard.
ci lépp loo xam ne mooy am nag ci suñu gannaaw.
There were some
am na ñenn ñoo xam ne.
who were complicit.
ñoo xam ne daal yoon nañ ci ànd.
There were some
am na ñoo xam ne it.
like the likes of Antuman Gueye,
ñu mel ni ki Antuman Gueye.
Bensouda, Lamin Kamara,
ak Lamin Camara.
lawyer Ousseynou Dabo.
lawyer Ousseynou Dabo.
Who Bori Touré.
Bori Touré.
And I might miss some names. Who were Nene Cham, of course.
Nene Cham.
Who were, always fighting.
ñoo xam ne ni toujours rek ñu ngi.
The good fight.
xeex bi nga xam ne mooy xeex bi gën a yéwén.
I must confess, I was not fighting the good fight because I was a corporate lawyer.
danaa wax ne daal duma daan xeex ni mu wéree.
I was not a litigator.
nekkuma nag koo xam ne nii ku daan.
But that's not an excuse.
waaye nag loolu du
But
toog
I
sax lay
was in my comfort zone.
waaye nag maa ngi woon ci suma paa bu dal.
I would do my duties as a member of the executive, and whenever my family member is charged, I will come to and fight the case and go back to my corner. So we were not a very strong unit.
nekkuñu nag ñoo xam ne nii mbootaay gu dëgër lañ.
Lawyers who carried a lot of weight.
amoon nañ yenn lawyer yoo xam ne ñoo gàddu woon yëpp. te itamit mu jéegi ci waxtu daal sonnoon nañ.
If you had a criminal case,
boo amee case boo xam ne mbiri tefaar la.
you will shop for lawyers. It's not easy. There are only 3 or 4 you can go to.
ñaar ñetti rek ngay mën a demal ci jamono boobu.
Yes, so really, I think yes, we were not a cohesive, strong unit.
nekkuñu daal mbootaay goo xam ne nii.
And we had some of our members who were really complicit, and we had some who were just on the fence.
am nañ ñoo xam ne nii nag bokkuñu kenn.
Some
bokkuñu
who really have been fighting.
am ñoo xam ne itamit ñu ngi doon xeexal.
Great things, and those are people who inspired people like me.
di def yu bëree bëri ñoo ñi nga xam ne ñoo xirtal ñu mel ni ki man.
Thank you very much, Emma. We will start our proceedings again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock sharp. Thank you all. Meeting is adjourned.
Star GSM Electronics special Ramadan promotion starting from April 4th to 15 on all our Sloster home appliances such as two-way gas cooker, microwaves, washing machines, stand fan rechargeable that can last for 8 hours, different stand freezers, deep freezers from 140 to 400 liters, blenders, stand and ceiling fans,